let's kick off. So, as promised in this session, we'll be looking at 8825, which includes the cabin, the galleys, the lavatory, some cargo some cargo compartments. All right. And the cabin is a very flexible thing in that it all depends on the airline, the operator, and the mission of the aircraft. So ATR have a good reputation as being good freighter aircraft. So obviously, if you're a freighter aircraft, you're not going to have any seats in it, like this picture. It's going to be a provisions to be able to roll containers or pallets down the cabin. It's got a nice big door at the front, a cargo door. So depending exactly what configuration and what mission your aircraft is doing for the operator that's using it, then that will define what cabin and what systems you have in the cabin. Okay. So there's two luggage compartments, they call it. That's what ATR call them, luggage compartments. All right. One is forward between the flight compartment and the cabin, and the other one is aft on the right-hand side here. Okay, and one will be just behind. Yeah. Again, depending on the configuration of the aircraft and the mission. The forward cargo compartment is 5.8 cubic meters in volume. No passageway starting from the passenger compartment has been provided. All right, so this is kind of a weird design, somewhat getting used to. If you look at this picture, the actual entry door to the aircraft cabin is here. Okay, and so if you sat in row 1A, which is the business class, let's say, you have to get in from the back and walk the whole cabin of the aircraft to get to here, to your seat, because here is the forward cargo compartment with the big cargo door. All right, so a little bit different than what you're used to. Usually the big spending passengers, they get in through the front door and they sit in the front seats. This aircraft, you still sit in the front seats, but you have to walk through the whole cabin to get to your front seat. Okay, luggage or payload is bulk loaded here, will be fitted here or stored here, and it's held in by means of a net so that it does not drop during flight. There's also, as you can see from the picture, a smoke detection system is installed in the forward cargo compartment. Okay, so that obviously if we're transporting dangerous goods or if we have any stuff that meets any cargo regulations, then we need to be able to be informed if there is smoke in the cargo compartment so that the pilots can perform the associated drills. So although there's a section of the cargo reserved to be loaded in the aft compartment, due to the criticality of the aircraft tipping, that's another issue. Remember we said if this is the aircraft and people get in from the back, all right, if the first 20 passengers that are getting in are sitting in the aft rows here, that means that the aircraft and its CFG will be such that the aircraft could overbalance and tip. Okay, so most cases they start by loading the front section first, just to hold it down, hold the nose down, fitting the cargo first before they start loading the passengers. Okay, now the aft compartment, you can see here with its little curtain used for fire suppression. The aft compartment has a volume of 4.8 meters cube. And the loading of this one is made through a service door. Okay, a service door here. It's of the plug type, and we'll look at it closer when we get to doors, of course. It's of the plug type, and there's two sections separated by a net. Okay, the luggage is held by means of a post secured to the floor and a rail to the upper part. These posts, they can be called stanchions, whatever. They're springed at one end so that you can lock it into a fixated thing, and you can move it, slip it in and out as required. There is a cross net secured to the post to the aircraft structure. There is a smoke detector installed, and in the passenger compartment, fire extinguishing system can be connected to a fixed extension located above the cargo compartment ceiling. The aft cargo compartment is closed by means of a curtain, this is the curtain, provided with a quick closing fastener, just like the old jeans, yeah, the clip fasteners. All right, in terms of the cabin itself, the walls are made of lateral panels attached to a back structure by means of screws, ceiling panels secured to a back structure by screws, a cargo compartment bottom panel, so the floor of the cargo compartment is fastened to a back structure also by means of screws. There is an access door to the lavatory. Okay. Access door to the lavatory water tank, the lavatory right wall, the wall on which is the cabin attendant seat here. Okay. There is a galley, as we can see here. It's installed in the aircraft aft section next to the service door. Some ATRs have a so-called dry galley. In other words, there's no running water to it. There's no tap. There's no coffees to be served. Okay, hot drinks. Some of the galleys, depending again on the configuration of the aircraft and how much if you're the first owner of it and you get to order what's on it, you can have a wet galley. But the majority of aircraft that I know that I worked on have a so-called dry galley. Okay. The trolleys of it are non-standard trolleys. They're a bit shorter than the normal trolleys, catering trolleys, these here, so that they can be fitted to the aircraft through the passenger and crew doors. Okay, by the ground loader here on the right hand aft service door. It's called the service door, this one. So on the left would be the PAX entry door. Remember we said we enter on the left because on the right hand in hotel mode, we have an engine running. Not the propeller, just the engine blowing hot air here. So we don't want passengers to be entering from this door. They enter from the left. We load the cargo, all the service functions are performed at the service door on the right. So the galley is secured at the lower part by means of fittings to the floor rails, probably screws or fasteners, and at the upper section here, so it's in a box by two adjustable rods, right? So they fit them and then they adjust them so that the galley is no longer movable, secured on the floor, and it also in this plane here there is a torque and it's not movable, therefore secured. Regardless of what movements the aircraft does, it's all nice and tight. So the basic galley is provided with two hot jugs. So here we have a wet galley. So there is provision for hot beverages, tea and coffee, 7 standard units, 1 drink trolley half size, a metal trolley half size, and 1 waste container. The waste container and the associated unit are so designed that they can withstand a possible fire originating in the waste container. So they have what these containers have. The waste one has a flap on a spring that you throw the rubbish in and it returns back, therefore making an airtight making the waste compartment an airtight compartment so that if there is smoke or fire in there, it can't progress because the flap will close and therefore starve that compartment of oxygen. And if there is a fire and there's no oxygen, which is one of the three elements required to sustain a fire, then the fire will extinguish. So it's a type of a fire extinguishing device, having this flap on the top of the waste container for that very reason. Okay. There's also a waste disposal system common to the lavatory wash bin. And this one operates on the same principle. It's on a flap as well. That you, if you throw any cigarette in it or anything, which shouldn't be, we know, but if it catches fire, the flap is supposed to extinguish everything because it's on a spring and should be shut closed. There are some notes, if you ever get hold of a book, it says, note a waste disposal system common to the lavatory waste bin. Well, yeah, the basic galley does not include any water delivery system, so it's a dry galley. The galley is supplied with 115 volts of variable frequency. So it's a bit confusing, that, typical French. They either have hot water or they don't. If they have hot water, there's 115 volts there to heat it. If they don't have water there, then they don't need 115 volts because they don't need to heat it. Okay? It all depends on the configuration. There's one lavatory located at the aft of the cabin here. Okay? This is probably aft of the entry door. So the entry door will be here, and you'll come in and you'll see the toilet door to your right, and then the attendant's seat to the right of the right of the toilet door. Yeah, so the inboard side, and then you'll see in the corner what would be the cargo bay, and if you turn immediately, you'll see the aisle where you can enter the cabin and have seats left and right of you. The backs of the seats, because you will be entering the cabin from the rear. So the passenger compartment is equipped with 3 partitions, depending on, again, configuration. Passenger seats, okay, again, the configuration we saw in lesson 1 could be from 64 passengers in the 72 version, 64 passengers up to 74 passengers, depending on what configuration you have. We have 1 cabin attendant seat. We have passenger service units, PSUs, okay, on the overheads here, and overhead stowage compartments, which I have to say, the overhead compartments on the ATR, they are pretty roomy for the size of the aircraft. They're a good little design. So in terms of the partitions or bulkheads, okay, heat and sound insulation is obtained through blankets made of glass wool flakes. So they have partitions that are used to insulate the cabin from noises. They're attached to the inner side of the fuselage lining panels between frames, and they are easily removable. Okay. Some airlines for certain operations have movable bulkheads where they clip on, so that if for airlines, for example, that have a business class and then an economy class, they can actually determine on how many seats they sold, move the bulkhead fore and aft to separate a little bit the economy passengers from the high-paying business passengers through the operation of a moving bulkhead that attaches to the ceiling or the PSU and the floor, and therefore can be moved. All right, partition also separates the cabin from the lavatory area, and it is secured to the floor. Partition cabin and aft cargo compartment are secured to the floor on the support fittings of cargo compartment posts and to the ceiling by a rod connected to the aircraft structure. All right, we already saw the ceiling panels. Ceiling panels here with lighting secured by screws, and they can be removed after tilting the overhead storage compartment. So there's access to them. Yeah, this little presentation we made was is from notes that are of a technical nature. So it's just telling us a little bit about how to access them as well. Light and ventilation, outlet covers, each cover hinged at one edge. The opposite edge is provided with a quick attached and detached fasteners, which enables the access lights and the air outlets to drop out. So what it's saying is, this is the passenger service unit. I'll do it this way, which is more convenient for my arms. This is the passenger service unit. It's got a clip at one end and a clip with a latch at one end, and here it's got a hinge at the other end, so you can unclip it and drop it like this, which will give you access here to the conditioned air that comes out to your face and the lights that come out to your face when it's like this, in this position. Okay, the sidewall panels attached to an extrusion at the upper edge by means of spring clips and secured by screws at the lower edge. So here we have sidewall panels, so they're clipped in by spring clips here at the top edge, and then once they're in, they're screwed down at the lower edge. Once the seats are in, they don't go anywhere because that's it, they're in. And depending on panel and where the screws are located, in order to replace one, you might have to replace or remove a or two seat rows to get access to these attaching screws. The floor covering consists of 3 carpet sections. 1, 2, 3. Okay, each section being in 3 parts. Okay, so they roll it. They deliver it rolled, cut, ready in the definitive lengths, so that when it's they at certain intervals they remove this carpet, send it off to be cleaned, or if it's in a terrible state, they send it to the bin. So when they get a new one, it comes pre-cut, pre-rolled. All they have to do is just roll it out and fit it with either double-sided tape or whatever they're using onto the fiber laminate boards, and that's it. Install and forget until the next removal installation of the carpet. The seats themselves, okay, they are, you've all seen aircraft seats, depending again on what type of aircraft you're flying and how much money you're prepared to invest. The good thing about this, we discussed on the lesson 1, is that there's no middle seat. So every passenger either gets a window seat or an aisle seat in that respect. Okay, and something a little bit idiosyncratic about this one is that there is a right emergency exit seat unit, which differs from all the other seats, as the wall side armrest is shorter and the backrest is fixed. Okay, so what they're saying is, this is an emergency exit. Okay, therefore, in order to aid in the evacuation, they've shortened this arm at this position. Okay, the idea of this is to open the hatch, chuck it out, and follow it. All right, and therefore, in order to assist in any way possible, they've made this arm shorter to facilitate evacuation in a rush. Double-side unit consists of an ashtray. I don't know why they're still building aircraft seats with ashtrays. There's been flights have been non-smoking for years and years and years now. They're still building them with ashtrays on the center armrest and the armrest on the aisle side. Each one's got a safety belt. Each one's got a luggage retainer, a seat pouch for the magazines here, and passenger instructions. There is also a life vest stowage under the seat, and there's also a folding table here which attaches to the back rest of the seat in front of you. The cabin attendant seat is attached to the partition of the lavatory and facing the aisle, so it's aft facing forward, so that the cabin crew can look down the cabin and watch what people's doing. If they're getting out of their seats, talk on the PA and tell them off. The passenger service unit, which we said detaches and comes down, they're located under the storage compartments and above the passengers' seats. So you'll see it, you'll know it, because the no smoking fastened seatbelt is usually on it, which you can see here. Okay, there's some air outlets here, some PAX call lights, and some facilities here. And we'll see later on, maybe down the road, at a different on a different training. Some of them have the facility to drop down and supply oxygen through masks if there's a rapid decompression of the cabin. Okay, we already said that the PSUs are secured by a clip system, and there is a rubber seal. Okay, a squeegee seal we call it, where when you clipped it closed, you put the rubber seal in and you press it with this special tool called a pizza cutter. It's like a pizza cutter, but it hasn't got a blade in it. It's got a rounded edge, and you roll this. It's like a garden hose, basically. This squeegee hose down and squeeze it in, secure it closed. Okay. So the overhead storage compartments, they run down both sides of the cabin. Okay, several modules are installed in the passenger compartment ceilings. They're closed by a door that automatically will latch, clips closed. It's held open by means of a gas actuator. So this one here, not only does it hold open, but also when you open it and let it go, it sort of dampens the operation of it to come open, so that it doesn't flip open without any resistance and brake. So it has two functions. This is to slow the operation of the door, and also maintain it open by this damping mechanism. All right. Some of these overhead bins are single, some of them are double. So by double, I mean that there'll be two with an area here that has no bulkhead. So you have one unit, but it will be, you'd have access to both units, both sides of it. Okay, they're very easy to remove. There's a quick attach pins, which if you have the special tool, just press it in on both sides of it, and it will just drop out. Okay, because that's necessary, because some of the cabin equipment, like emergency batteries or I don't know what, are located inside the cabin behind these things. So there is provisions for them to be removed quickly in an emergency.